Hi.
Hold tight. I'm grabbing my notes.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, you don't look like you're in your jammies. Hang on, I can't hear you.
I am. Hang on. Let's continue the other way around. I am in my jammies.
Hang on. I can't hear a darn thing.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's me, not you. Hi.
Yay. Hi.
You are as gorgeous in person as you are on your Instagram.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
feel very glamorous this morning.
Well,
Uh,
it's very good to meet you. Thanks for your time. I'm very glad
oh,
to
of
have you here.
course.
Yeah,
How
and
old's your baby?
it's as funny. He's 12.
Oh, okay.
I have three boys, 16, 13, and 12. So I totally get it though. I launched one of my first companies when Sam, my youngest one, had just turned 6 weeks old. So I totally
It
get
happens.
everything that, it was great. I mean, I love to work, so it was perfect.
Mm.
It's just what I wanted. So thank you so much for your time. I have so many thousands of questions that I want to talk to you about, and I'll come back and pre-record the intro later and do that. But I wanted to know what you wanted to talk about, what you want to teach on today, and then I can kind of give you my curiosity rundown as an entrepreneur and share that with
Sure.
you as well, and just kind of give you a little bit of background of our audience too, so that
Hmm.
you're making sure that your time is widely used by being here on the show.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, why don't you start with the audience?
Okay, yeah. So I'm a business development strategist for lifestyle entrepreneurs, which means that
Hmm.
women follow me to learn how to develop their services and model their business primarily around, it's not so much around location freedom, but lately, the last three,
Mm.
4 years, it's been a great deal around location freedom. So our clients are, I would say, 95% female followers, and
Yeah.
interestingly enough, well, the purpose of the podcast, and I'll explain that to you, they're all really great tangible business trainings. This isn't so
Hmm.
much of an interview based podcast. As a matter of fact, I didn't even start doing interviews uh, until a couple months ago, and we're coming up on our 2 year anniversary. They were all just, I wanted to deliver tangible, trusted business trainings that people could take. So the episodes, and I think Amber filled out your thing for you. Our episodes are primarily business strategies and trainings. So I'd love for you to drop us some really cool. Um, I don't even want to fill in the blank there because you know better than me what you think you should be training on. But I will
Yeah.
say this: what people find very interesting about this podcast is that the majority of women who are on here, we're all moms, and business modeling
Oh,
looks
yeah.
totally different, but not mompreneurs. They aren't crafty. I mean, they're just really,
Yeah, yeah. I know what
you
you
know what I
mean.
mean? They're
Yeah.
some really driven business women, but they also happen to have a life that looks a lot like yours and probably a lot like mine, where they're modeling their company around family. So I'm very curious. I would love to know how you're doing transitioning with baby number 3. What
Hmm.
what maybe was unexpected, how life looks a little bit different, and just if you'd be willing to share a bit with us about your life and how you model it and how your business model works. And I know you and my husband's an entrepreneur also, so I know that you guys co do a lot of things, and so I'm
Yeah.
personally curious about that. But then when it comes to money and mindset, I haven't had, it's why I was really interested to have you on the show. I haven't had anybody else on the show to really speak to this, to teach this. And I personally have struggled so much. I've been a business coach for 21 years. But I still, and I own 2 different business consulting companies. I still struggle with um, asking for what I believe that I'm worth.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
just can't
Great.
fucking get over it. I mean, I just don't even
Yep.
understand. So anyway, so with that being said, whatever you would like to teach us today, I would just be honored to receive that.
Yay. Well, I've got two different ideas. So we can go down the money mindset route,
Okay,
which obviously I love and can do that in my sleep. I think though, because I've got a new book coming out in Feb next year,
that's right.
and it's called Chillpreneur. And I think it's kind of perfect for your audience to talk about one of the concepts in the book, which is called the concept of the keyless life. And it's about making your life run as seamlessly as possible, life and business. So we could talk about that concept, or we could go into money mindset, or you can just fire questions at me and we can go in between the two.
No, I like that. So it's about the careless life.
Keyless.
Keyless life. Okay.
Mm,
Big difference.
yeah, yeah,
But maybe
but
not.
I do talk. No, but I actually do talk about being a little bit careless, like a little bit free from anxiety, right? Is one of the dictionary definitions of careless.
Yeah.
So I talk about that in the book as well, of like when you delegate, when you're a mum, like sometimes you have to care a little bit less about how people do things for you,
Right.
how things are done. And if you care just a little bit less, then usually you have a lot more happiness
Right.
in your life. So it's kind of both, interestingly enough.
Yeah. So when like I said, I'll come back and I'll introduce I'll read your formal bio and introduce the beginning of the podcast before. But so when I'm sharing with what you're going to teach us on today, can you just tell me, how do you define the keyless life?
So it's creating a life as seamless as possible, to reduce stress, as automated as possible. So there's a whole story around the start of the keyless life, which
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
wait
You'll
and tell
you'll
you on
talk
the
about
thing.
it.
But yeah, which kind of illustrates how it works. But you could call it the fanny pack life. It's
The
like
fanny pack life.
how can you make things as easy for yourself as possible?
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I love it.
All
All
right.
right. Let's do it.
Cool. Are we recording?
Yeah, but we'll show this. This is just behind the scenes and
Yeah.
just
Perfect.
goes. I mean, people really appreciate that so much. Just, real quick, when I ran out of my office and Samuel's like, "Where are you going? I thought you had an interview." I'm like, "I'm going to put my jammies on because it's almost snowing here. I'm in Colorado." And he's like, "What, for an interview?" I'm like, "Yes, I can wear my jammies for an interview." He's like, "That's great, Mom. Good for you."
Oh, I love it.
I was like, okay.
It's snowing there.
Yeah, just
Oh my
flakes. I
God.
know
Mark's going to Durango next week
it should be beautiful
for a
next week.
mastermind. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just goes. I mean, it just goes in and out. It'll snow for maybe 24 hours, and that's one of the reasons why I can stay to live here. Okay,
Okay, let's do it.
cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Denise. I am so thrilled to have you on the podcast. And I've actually been waiting for this opportunity to talk to you for a long time. And secretly, woman crushing and following you on Instagram. Particularly, I have to say how transparent you are about showing your journey into life as a mom of three. While in the background, because I'm on your email list and I follow you professionally, I see the hard work that you put in, because I'm still getting the emails about business strategies. I'm still finding information about your programs and your offers. I still know what's going on as far as a business side, but also as a mom behind the scenes, as a mama three myself, I know what it actually looks like, and you're showing that too. You've done an amazing job building and modeling your company clearly around your family, but in a way that works with your life. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast, and I'm going to shut up now so you can start talking and just introduce yourself, for maybe some of our listeners don't know who you are, and maybe share a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship and what you're doing now in your business. We'd love that.
Oh, yay. Well, thank you for having me. I started out as a life coach. Then I realized I didn't really like talking to people about their jobs, because my solution to that was always like, why don't you quit your job and become an entrepreneur? And so I then transitioned into business coaching. And what I realized was that most of my clients, they weren't doing the things that were really easy, like do a blog post, go away and do this little thing. And they were so blocked. And I wanted to explore why they were blocked. And I realized it was all about this fear of money and having money mindset issues and having money blocks. So then I did another little slight pivot and decided to go all in on helping mostly women with their money mindset, so they can receive more money, make more money without guilt, without shame, and without all the kind of mental gremlins that go on. And so that's what I do now. I help people with my courses and programs and books just on money mindset.
And you do a very good job of it. And it's certainly something I know that our listeners struggle with. It's definitely something that I have struggled with and I continue to struggle with as an entrepreneur. And it's really interesting because it doesn't matter how long I've been doing what I've been doing. You have to learn. This is a learned thing, and I think it is like a demon that a lot of us face that we kind of ignore for so many years. And so it was finally when I started learning from your trainings and following you that I realized that it's something that I needed to face too, and really charging what your worth is. And I know so many people know you for that, and follow you for those teachings. But tell us a little bit, before we dive into today's training that you're going to share with us, tell us a little bit about what life looks like for you, because life has drastically changed, or actually maybe it hasn't changed that much for you in the last couple of months. Why don't you share with us a little bit about your family and what family life looks like for you too?
Yeah, so we've got a 4-year-old girl. She'll start school in February. We've got a 2.5-year-old boy who is how to describe George? He is we sometimes lovingly call him Wreck-It Ralph because he's very full on. And we've got how old is she? She's 3.5 months old, little baby Piper. So yeah, life is kind of crazy, but to be honest, I started designing my life for children way before I had children, because I realized that I am very ambitious. I can be very hardworking as an entrepreneur, but I'm also kind of lazy, and I love finding the shortcuts to doing things in an easier way. So before I had kids, I was like, I don't want to get up at 4:30 to have an international client. I don't want to work all day long. Like, I don't want to work weekends. I want to go to the movies on a Friday, because why else would you work for yourself if you can't have this freedom? So I started designing my business like that. Which has really helped with having kids, especially when you've got, passive income sources, or you've got a business that kind of runs in an easy way. So much easier than when you've got kids and you don't have to just run around and get stressed about things. So yeah, life is kind of full. I never say the B word, busy. And my hubby works in the business as well. So, we try and create a chilled business as much as possible, chilled business and lifestyle. It's not always easy, as you know, with 3 kids yourself, but that's what we aspire to do.
Yeah, and I can't believe how mindful and intentional you were. I can't say that I was anywhere near that mindful and intentional. I think that it was during the time, I think, where my youngest was about a year old, that I realized, oh my gosh, things have to change. And it was a huge business model shift out of desperation, that I wasn't going to be able to be in business much longer, or even have any hair left if I didn't do that. So how did you learn to do this? What's your story? What's your background? How did you learn to be really intentional and get into this? And
Well, like I said, I think I'm just a really lazy person. I've always, even as a kid, I was always trying to find the shortcuts. I was like, how can I hack this? And back when I was working in a job, I remember I was working in a call center, and they said, here are a list of all the phone numbers you have to call, and just call them day in, day out. And it was just so stupid because you never get any sales. And I noticed we finished at 9 p.m. and everyone went to get a drink because we're all in our early 20s. And I thought, I wonder if I just stay around for another hour, how many people would call in to do this? And we were selling some internet package. It was really crap. And so I stayed for 1 extra hour, and I got 20 sales because there was no one to answer those phone calls. So I think that was when I was like, there's always a better, easier way to do something. You don't have to do the way that people tell you to do. You don't have to do the long way, minimum effort for maximum results. So I think that's just kind of how I've always been. And I wouldn't say I'm a hugely analytical person. I'm not just looking at all my activities and doing time motion studies or anything like that. I'm always just how can I work less and achieve the same or better results? Because I want to go to the movies in the middle of the day. I don't want to stress out. I want to try and get as much sleep as possible. So it really comes from that place of there's always an easier way. And you know what? When I tell people that, it often triggers feelings of guilt, especially in women, because we're not allowed to have things easy in so many ways. We've been told that. if you see a mother written about in newspapers or the news, they always say, busy mom of 3, busy mom of 5. It's like we have to be busy. And I remember sitting with a mum's group and they were all saying, oh, we're so busy, we're so busy, we're so busy. And then they looked at me and I said, I'm actually not that busy. And they looked at me like it was the most taboo thing in the world to admit that I wasn't busy. So that's my thing. It's like, why do we have to be so busy? We don't have to be. We can be intentional about what we do.
You're so right. That is absolutely so true, and I never realized that until you just said that. That is exactly the way that they write about too, and gosh,
busy mom.
Right, and so it makes you better if you're doing better if you're busy. But if you're doing well and you were intentional and you are not busy, then maybe it wasn't really that hard. Is kind of how they make you feel. Yeah,
exactly.
That makes me mad. Okay, all right. So you're coming out with a new book. So you've written Lucky Bitch, and Get Rich Lucky Bitch. I mean, this is so exciting. I am very excited to get my hands on your new book. So tell us about your new book and why. Why now? What do we get to learn from you? And why is this book so important for where we are right now? And let me just preface this by saying, this is also one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the podcast. I believe we are starting to see a shift, and the industry, if you will, and if you guys are watching behind the scenes, Denise and I are just here in our lounge clothes chatting. You guys can catch the behind the scenes, and I'm air quoting industry. In the past, anybody who was a mother who was really, really driven to have a profitable business, usually worked in corporate. Or if anybody used the word mompreneur, it referenced somebody that just sat there and knitted all day and probably homeschooled her children, which is not a bad thing, but that's not what it is. That we are doing is a wave of powerful entrepreneurial women who just so happen to have children. And finally, I think that we're starting to see this shift in the industry where you can build a profitable business. You don't have to work for somebody else, and it doesn't mean you're sitting home baking cookies all day. And I love what you do and how you represent that profit in that power to control and to really step forward into who we are as women, while also, being good friends and wives and mothers and philanthropists and everything else. So I just have to say that I think it's so important, your leadership and what you're showing, whether or not you realize it, in this space, because it's a new conversation. Well, I can't say it's a new conversation. The conversation is changing, and you are a powerful part of that. So tell us about this new book and, what's going on with this, why now, and what do we get to expect out of this book?
Wow, you just given me chills because that's exactly why I wrote this book, right? Because I saw, first of all, that female-driven businesses weren't respected a lot in the entrepreneurial world, and especially not mothers, and so here's what was happening. Just had George, number 2 baby, and I was reading a book, a very famous book by a very famous author about business, and he did this case study about this man who got up at 4:30 in the morning to do his daily podcast, and then he went to work, and then he came home, and then he spent an hour with his wife and child. He actually said that, and then he went into his office, and he worked till 1 o'clock, and then he slept on the couch and did it all again. And I was flabbergasted, really. And I was taking notes on the book, and I actually wrote, what the fuck, on this page, because I just went, what is broken in this world that is a sign of success? That is not a sign of success. And I want to hear from his wife, like how she feels about the fact that he sleeps on the couch for 4 hours a night and then does it all again, all to do a daily podcast. So that got on my tits, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, and I was like, that's not cool. So I started writing this book, Chillpreneur, as kind of like a clap back, I guess, to the very male-dominated way of doing business. Nothing against men, but sometimes you guys do things in a very full-on way, because we don't have the luxury as women, and it's not just women with kids. like we have to honor our bodies, our cycles. We have to honor our energy. We have to honor our adrenals.
Yes.
It does not work for us to work like that. And it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary to work like that either. So I started writing this book, Chillpreneur. And it's funny, I wrote it while breastfeeding, while pregnant with number three, while breastfeeding number three. And so it really feels like it's a book that I did in my life. I did with being a mom and being a business owner. So the chapter I want to talk to all of you guys about is this concept of the keyless life. Keyless life. It started a couple of years ago when you have a kid and then you're just like, I don't have enough hands.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't have enough hands. So I was sick of digging my keys out of the bottom of my handbag, and like digging past crumbs and diapers and wipes and binkies and just all this shit. So I was like, oh, our next car, we need keyless entry. The keyless entry cars where you just have to have your keys somewhere on you and then the car opens. And then I was like, I don't want to carry house keys around. So I just started coming in the house with a buzzer, like the coming in through the garage door. And then I was like, let's get a keypad on our front door. So we just put in a code. So I was like, this is amazing. I don't have to carry keys anywhere. And so it became this like freedom cry for me of like, the keyless life. What else can I create in my life that would take away those little annoying things in my life and business and make things a seamless experience for me? So, and it was little things. It was like, you know what? I'm getting these like, wireless earpods. That's my definition of a keyless life, not having wires. How can I create my business that things just happen automatically? I don't have to think about it. That's when I started batching things. I started batching videos a couple of months in advance. I started scheduling out my social media. Keyless life. Don't have to think about it every single day. So that's become my rallying cry. And nothing's too big or too small. These things that just really annoy you. It could be that your cups are too big for your dishwasher. And every day that annoys the crap out of you. Like eliminate that, go buy new cups. It could be something in your business that happens again and again that just annoys you. Find some way to automate it, eliminate it, delegate it so that does not happen. And that's when if you take care of the little things, then the big things, you have some spaciousness to deal with the big things. So I want everyone just to think keyless life. And definitely, because I'm always looking for new little hacks around this, screenshot this with me in April, screenshot the graphic for this podcast, tag us on Instagram and tell us what little hacks you're doing in your life to embrace this concept of the keyless life.
I love that. Now, let me ask you a question. So for those women that are maybe just starting out, we have this problem, I think, where we feel like maybe we're not ready for that yet, or we haven't earned that yet, or we haven't earned the right to delegate or to make something easier. First of all, why the hell do we do that? Why do we think, like you were saying, that it has to be hard or we have to like put in this grunge time to do it? So I'm sure you could speak to that. But then secondly, what do you say to these women that are just starting out that you're talking simple, seamless, chillpreneur. And I think that there is power in starting out that way. You don't have to go into entrepreneurship and fall on your face a trillion times in order to earn the right to then be able to make things keyless.
Totally. So let's start with if you're starting out, right?
Right.
A perfect example of this is you don't have to do all of the social medias all at the same time. When you start to get in a tizzy and you go, I'm not optimizing my Pinterest. Should I be doing Snapchat? Like, oh my God, Insta stories. Just pick one. You don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do all of the things. Another example is when you're starting out and you try and do everything for everyone. And I'm laughing thinking of my first website because I had like 9 tabs and it was like, here are the things I can help you with. Goals and success, health and weight loss,
right.
Law of attraction, Like, find your soulmate.
I know. It's like you're the Jane
Literally.
of all trades, and nobody really actually knows what you do well because you do everything.
You do everything. You might be thinking, oh God, I've got to write this book and this book and this book and this book. And it's like, you know what? You can't write all of the books of your career this year. You can't. You have to let things unfold. You can't lay all of your golden eggs at once. They're going to unfold. So I think if you just start from that space and really question, like, do I need to do this? You're going to make mistakes because we all do. We take on too much. We get distracted. Some things don't work out and you have to pivot. That's totally fine. But just keep in mind you don't have to do all the things. The other thing that I want to say, and this is really, really, really important, right? A couple of years ago, there was a shift in like the female online world where design became incredibly important. Like things had to look really sexy and
You
like
mean like everybody else's Instagram versus mine?
and websites.
And websites,
I think
yes.
websites. And it's because, like someone in the industry like Marie Forleo, for example, has this sexy website. And then everyone goes, I need a sexy website. What I'm noticing now, because I've done the statistics on it, is that sexy doesn't convert. Simple converts. So don't look at someone else and go, oh my God, I need a backdrop. I need a sexy backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
I need a whiz bang website with all the things. Because what I'm doing now, I'm actually stripping all of that back because it does not convert as well. And I've done the stats and, I took my eye off the ball a little bit when I had George. And I wasn't keeping track of my stats. And when you come out of like the 4-month bubble and you're like, I'm ready to get back.
Right.
And I looked at my stats and I went, what the hell happened to our opt-in pages?
Yeah.
Like instead of converting at 2%, which is normal, they were converting at 0.5%.
Okay.
And I was like, what happened? What happened? We put in pretty pictures and like, let's put in a border and let's put in this sexy thing. And they looked beautiful. Like they looked stunning, but they did not convert. So even just knowing that is statistically a reason not to overcomplicate your business.
And so do you think that, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I wrote that down. Those of you guys that watch behind the scenes, I'm like taking tons of notes, especially from Denise here. Sexy doesn't convert. Simple converts, which is a really good thing for ladies like me and you that like to record podcasts in our jammies. So
yeah.
And I think that what happens is gosh, this is like so hard to say because it's been so true for me, and I think it's so true for a lot of women. I think that we feel like there's a part of us that doesn't deserve to be here, or we aren't good enough, and so we try to make up for it with branding and all these other things, because maybe there's entrepreneurs listening to this, or maybe that you're really passionate about what you do, and that you're really good and you're really committed and you can give great results, but there's something in the back of your mind when you look around that says, hey, I'm not as good as the lady next to me, and that's a growth thing, and that's very, very hard, and it's unfortunately very common. But it does happen. I think it's something that we need to go through. And so I love that you said that, because I think that that's going to encourage a lot of women to not throw their brand out the window, but just to really simplify to the purpose of what they're doing instead of decorating it up like a Christmas tree, maybe. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing. I was like, oh, let's put a bee there and let's put some like fabric and let's make some branded cushions. This is from my website. I made branded cushions. Why did I do that? Because it was fun.
Right.
Like I've got a branded sticker on my, like, that's all procrastination, and it doesn't necessarily make you the money. Yeah.
God, I love that though. But it's also, it's fun. It's okay to do. It's fun, and your Volkswagen bus, by the way, is my favorite thing. The Lucky Bee, car, and all those things, all those brandings, and I do love that. But I think that people follow you because you don't bullshit, and because you tell the truth, and because you give them actually the substance of what they need to know. And I think that's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So let's go back real quick to this concept of the keyless life. And I will be real curious to see what people post that they're going key free with, and in the areas. How does this when you do this, you've done this. When you do this, what happens then? What are the results of being able to free yourself in this capacity?
Mm. Um, Definitely less stress, which is what it's all about. Being a chillpreneur is about stressing less about the things in your business that don't matter. But you're also way more effective. I really think embracing this concept helps you be more consistent in business, helps you get better results because you're showing up in a consistent way, or you're showing up in a non-stressed way. And it also helps you focus on income producing activities. Like if I'm going to do anything in my business today, am I going to make branded stickers or am I going to get a sale? Like if, especially if you've got other things going on, whether you're a mom or you're looking after someone in your family, or you've just got hobbies you want to do, you've only got a short window to do business. So it's like, why don't you focus on the thing that makes you the money and do the other stuff later, or do the other stuff for fun? Like one perfect example of this too is part of my keyless life is that I get my hair blow dried on Mondays. I go to the salon, I get a blowout. And then I've set my schedule that I only do interviews on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I've got good hair. So I've got no excuses, right? And I'll do like 5 interviews over those 2 days, sometimes more. But that's pretty easy to do. And then Thursday, Friday, I don't have to like, oh, have I got decent hair to do a video? Like I don't have to, because it's just not going to happen on those days. So it's almost like, what's the thing in your business that's going to help everything else, that's going to cascade from that? And I joke about the fact that I get my hair done like a grandma from the 50s on Mondays. But for me, that's a cascade point that means I feel good to do videos. I feel good to do interviews. Yesterday, Mark said, I need you to do a sales video. And I was like, no problem. I look gorgeous.
Right.
I'll get on camera. But if I didn't, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to have to wash my hair. I'm going to have to like, I bought some of those magnetic eyelashes. Oh, I have to show you.
Yeah.
Because,
I want to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought some of those little magnetic eyelashes. They sit on my desk.
Oh, love them.
So it was like, yesterday I was like, bang, video.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so the only thing that I don't do my blowouts, but I go get my eyelashes glued on every 2 weeks, and and then I do my clients and my meetings on Thursday and Friday. My eyelashes every 2 weeks on Wednesday. Same exact thing. And I can wake up in the morning and I just look great until about 2 days before my fill, and like I am right now, they're all about falled out. but that's it. I totally get it, and I get that there is like this really, really weird sense of protection around my schedule, because I'm just like you. I'm like, yeah, dude, sorry, I can't be on camera, or I can't make this video for my program or whatever I'm doing, because I don't have eyelashes, and I won't have them until 4 days from now, and whatever. And so I love that example. That is a real example, and I love that, and just kind of setting parameters that protect you in order to be productive in the way that you want to do that. And Mark even knows. He's like, oh yeah, I can ask her to do this video because she got her hair blown out.
Exactly. And it's really funny. I got interviewed. Someone was writing a book, and it's a kind of a similar concept, but it's more of a male version. It's like making your life run easier. And he said, I want to hear all your tips. And I was talking about batching videos and all this kind of stuff. And I said, I'd love to share some of the things I do in my personal life to help my business. And he was completely uninterested. He was like, oh, whatever. And I thought, but this is what us as women, we need to take care of the personal stuff so we can thrive in our businesses. Like I've got a water filter in my office, because if I have to get my cup, walk downstairs to get some water, I just wasn't drinking enough water. So it was like, oh, what other things can I do? I was like, I've got 2 breastfeeding pillows, one that lives upstairs, one that lives downstairs, so I don't have to walk. That's the stuff that sounds really superficial, but for women, it does make a difference for us, right? And this guy was just completely dismissing. He's like, nah, that's not important or interesting. And I was like, well, that helps me do my business.
I think that those things that you do are foundational to everything else that you do, because those are the little things that, if you didn't do them, totally make everything else fall over like dominoes. Those teeny tiny little things. And I agree with you 100%. And I'm so excited for your book to come out, because I agree with you 100% that that it hasn't been okay for women to talk about the fact that they need to have 2 breastfeeding pillows in order to sell their next $10,000 course. But they directly relate to each other. And it's about
Yeah.
time that women, we realize, hey, you know what? This is okay. And guess what? All of us have these little things that we need, and nobody's talking about it because it's not supposed to be part of business. And, you know, kind of goes along with that whole, work-life balance. And certainly there is. I actually hate that term, work-life balance, because I think that we need to be developing companies that work cohesively, not like against each other. That work and life aren't on two such opposite spectrums that one of them's crashing when the other one's thriving. What you're saying and what you're teaching is exactly that there are these small things, and there are these things that they might seem superficial, but they all add up, and they aren't, and they're super important.
They are, and we've only got a limited bandwidth. As women, we have to be so careful of our energetic bandwidth. So here's what I suggest that people do.
Good.
Just take a little note on your phone or in your diary, and as you go through your day, take a note of the things that really piss you off. It could be that this is something that used to piss me off. My husband used to steal my phone charger and my earphones. And I want to be able to come into my office 2 minutes before an interview. My earphones are here, my plug's there. I don't have to go, who stole my plug? Write those things down. It could be that every time you're in the shower, you get annoyed about something. Get some pumps for your shampoo so you don't have to find things. Anything in your business, repetitive things that annoy you in your life or business, take note of them. And then every week, just do something just eliminates that problem altogether. You might have to buy 6 phone chargers, one for every room of your house. That's okay. You might need to, I don't know, replace things or change things, or set up a system with your assistant, or just set boundaries where it's like, hey, you know what? Nobody can book into my calendar on a Friday because it does not exist in my calendar. It's completely blocked out. And once you do that, you find that you just get more and more energy to then do the things that you want to do in your business. Because business isn't hard. You can Google that shit. You can Google everything.
Right.
But if you don't have the bandwidth to do it, it's going to feel so hard all the time.
All the time. You're so right. Thank you so much. So tell us, how can we get our hands on your newest book? When is this coming out? And how can people connect with you? And I want to immerse myself in the Chillpreneur, just so you know. I'm looking forward to doing that and supporting this, newest launch. And tell us how can people connect with you and really support your new book and learn from it?
Thank you.
Absorb it.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because it feels for me, I'm like, oh, this is the age of the Chillpreneur. Because you know what? When I first wrote it, I wasn't living that. And it was in the process of writing it that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. So I really feel next year, as I promote this book even more heavily, I'm like, I am all into this Chillpreneur philosophy. So it should be on pre-order by the time people are listening to this. So you can just get it, pre-order from the normal places. Amazon is always a good place to do it. And these days, my social media platform of choice is Instagram. I'm loving Instagram. So my handle there is Denise DT, which is also my website, denisedt.com. And, Twitter and Facebook, it's the same handle, because that's part of the keyless life, right? Everything's the same. And I would love to hear your ahas, but also I would love to hear any little tricks that you do that you don't even think about it, because these are the things that we have to share as women. Any hack that you have in your life or business, being a mom or being a pet mom or anything that will help us all, share it, please. I'm always looking for ways to work less and earn more, pretty much.
Right. Okay. So you guys go connect with Denise on Instagram, Denise DT, and share your hacks, and share with her the things that you don't know how to hack. And if she knows it, then she's going to share with you, and how to fix that and connect you with other brilliant women that might have hacked that. And Denise does a great job building communities of women and helping us to remember that we're like magnetic to each other, even though sometimes we fight that. We really, really need each other. And so if you haven't connected with her yet, it's going to be an important thing for you to do, I believe, moving into 2019, especially in this new wave of entrepreneurship. that we're getting into, and mindful entrepreneurship, purposeful entrepreneurship, and intentional entrepreneurship, whatever that looks like to you guys. So
Yes. And you know, one thing I wanted to add on to that too
yeah.
is one of the reasons I think for this book is I realized that I was making a lot of money, but I didn't have much richness in my life. You know, it was like, it's not all just about the money. The money is great, and that's one aspect of running a business for sure. But if you can't like go to yoga, or like you've been wanting to start a garden, or just to read a freaking book every now and again, you know, like that's not richness. That's not wealth. So this is part of it as well. This chillpreneur part is richness in all areas of your life. And that's okay. We need that as women. And we need that because we need the energy to do those things that are going to change the world, not burn ourselves out.
And you just posted today, I think it was today, on your Insta story about your garden. Did you something
Yeah.
post? It was like your garden and you're growing things, and you can't believe that you're doing this, and it was just so good that so and I really admire that because I kill everything that I try to grow. But you
Yeah,
really
Mark, I supervise it. Mark grows it. But I want to tell you a secret. I don't know when this is going live,
okay.
but
I'll look.
we're in the process at the moment of buying a rose farm. And like, this is the weirdest thing ever because I just, we're actually building a house by the beach to live in. And I just started feeling this urge to do more creativity and have more beauty in my life. And then we saw this rose farm, and I was like, let's buy it. And it's going to be a hub. It's going to take a couple of years to put it all together. But it's going to be a hub for women to come together. I'll run some retreats there. There's, you know, room for like a florist. There's a commercial building on there, so I can have like naturopaths or massage therapists in there. It's going to have a big garden. It's obviously got roses. It's so weird that I've done this because I'm not really an outdoors person. I'm not really like a growing type person, but I feel like this is part of this new phase of my life of really creating richness and pleasure. So I brought a freaking rose farm as a space for that.
I can't believe you did that. That is
I know.
so hysterical. Um, and really, I mean, that's so outside of the box of
Right.
anything, and that's what's so rad about that is that you did it, but that you've taken the time to slow down. Otherwise, you would have driven right by, and you would have been driving too fast, and you wouldn't have even been able to notice that was a beautiful place that you could have bought.
Exactly. And this is going to be, you know, the house that we're building by the beach. Mark has really driven the process. And it's a very masculine type house in a lot of ways. It's a lot of concrete. It's architecturally designed. You know, there's things that I've gone, oh, let's have a blue front door. And Mark's like, no, let's not have a blue front door. So I said, this rose farm is going to have fucking turquoise everywhere. There is going to be love hearts everywhere. Like, I'm going to have like wisteria
Yeah.
decals on the walls. I'm like, you're gonna regret every part of this. I'm gonna do you know, when you do polished concrete floors. I know we're
Right.
going off topic, but it's
No,
fun.
yes,
Um,
totally. Like the
the
stamped
company,
concrete with
yeah,
the
like,
art. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
well, yeah, you can do it on the floor, and it's like polished concrete. It's very industrial looking.
Uh-huh.
The company that does that locally, they said, we're experimenting with different colors. We can do you a pink concrete floor, and then you can crush any stone that you want into it, right? So I was like, we're gonna do a pink concrete floor with like pink quartz
Oh
crushed into
my
it. And I'm
goodness.
like, there is gonna be freaking, yeah, it's gonna be very feminine and fun. And yeah, it's like we're allowed to do things for pleasure
Gosh.
and for creativity reasons. And this is the rise, right? We're
Right.
very angry as women at the moment, and that's what's needed. But we're also creating space for more pleasure for ourselves. And
Right.
yeah, so stay tuned. I'm going to share a lot about it on the Instagram. I'm actually even going to start a second Instagram account just for the
Oh
Rose
my
Farm,
gosh.
which will be really fun
The
too.
Rose Farm. The Rose Farm. That'll be my good excuse to come down there because I have clients down there I've never seen before, and I've always wanted to come down and visit. Okay, so this leads me to another question. Again, tangent, but I think it's an important question to ask. Everything that you're doing, um, challenging the status quo and really redefining even your life, even though you've been an entrepreneur so long, and going back and looking back at this. Um, was more of a statement, I think, more than a
Mm.
question. Um, the coolest part about this, I think, is that your kids, and I know in our life, because we're lifestyle entrepreneurs different than you are in a different capacity, but our kids are seeing the fact that we can define and write our story, and that they're watching you
Mm.
buy a rose farm, and they're
Mm-hmm.
watching you pour into other people, and at the same time being mindful about what you want and you need as an individual, so your identity isn't only wrapped up in them, but then also really pouring into them and loving them like crazy too. um,
Oh, yeah. I've got something to share on that for sure because when we saw the Rose Farm, we were like, this is our legacy for our children. We're going to create memories here. They're going to get married here. And I pay attention to songs that pop into my head. I think this is I'm not a very woo person. I'm not psychic or anything, but I pay attention. And I started to hum the song from the musical Gypsy, and it's called Everything's Coming Up Roses. And part of it is um, starting now, it's going to be my turn. Don't I get a dream for myself? And I was like, no, you can't spend your whole life just trying to create memories for your kids. Like, that's when I decided, no, this is a place for me. And it, by seeing that, that is going to inspire them in so many ways. That is going to create the memories, but it's not for them first. This is a dream for myself. And this is why I'm going to have like life-size goddess statues everywhere. And, like it's going to be, it's for me, it's a dream for myself. And they are going to see that. And I think that's probably the best thing we can role model for them. People ask me all the time, Denise, do a course for kids. And I'm like, no, because they're just watching you. I'm going to help you with your money stuff. That's the best thing that you can do is work on your own money stuff, stand for your own dreams. That is all the instruction they need for doing the same in their own lives.
right, right. um, So interesting that you say that too, and I completely agree. I interviewed my 16-year-old on this podcast last month, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to prep you for anything. Just say whatever it is. No holds barred. Just go for it. Whatever, And I'm going to ask you these questions and be really honest. And he was, uh,
Wow,
and
that's fun.
but one of the coolest things that he said was, I've been able to watch this, and I see you and dad doing what you want to do, and I want to be able to be able to do what I want to do for myself too. And I really love that too. Another real quick tangent. My parents were entrepreneurs, and so I grew up in this like lifestyle entrepreneur space. But my mom, I love her to death, and we're really close now. But she worked her ass off, and every single thing was for the company and was for me and my sister, so much to the point that she left when I was 13, and I've been on my own since I was 13. And and I've learned this as a woman, as a mother, as I've gotten older. It's because every single ounce of energy that she did, everything she worked for, was for us, and she was never selfish. And I think I think I'm a better mother now and a better entrepreneur now because of the fact that my mom left, because I see how important that is to teach my children that what I want matters too, and what's important to
Yes.
me and what's important to you. And we as women, we can raise these really intelligent, mindful, future change makers. But the way we do that is by showing them that we're intelligent and mindful in doing what we want to do too. So God, I love that you just said that. I think that's a big part of everything. And it's so cool for your kids to be able to watch you build something that is everything that you want. That's so
Yes,
rad.
exactly. And they'll get to enjoy it too, but you know, yeah, even for things like when we went to Disneyland, when you do stuff and you're like, we're trying to create memories for you turds, and you're just being horrible, when they have tantrums at Disneyland and stuff like that. And so since then, I'm like, well, we're going to Disneyland because I like Disneyland. And if they want to have a tantrum and miss like going on something, so be it,
Right.
which does feel a little audacious and selfish in lots of ways because we're so conditioned to do things for our kids and so conditioned to do things for other people. And it's not selfish to live your life because it's beautiful. They'll get the best of you when you're being true to yourself.
Right. Yeah, well, you're doing an awesome job of that. Not only for your kids, but for the rest of us, they get to follow your journey and learn from you. So thank you so much for being on the show. And
Thank
I've
you.
had such a good time talking to you.
Same.
And is there anything else you want to share with us before we go? And we'll know how to watch you. We'll know how to find you, DeniseDT.com. I can't wait for the Chillpreneur coming back. But anything else you wanna share with us?
No, just that perfection isn't the goal. Like even, I do this pretty well in my life, this whole keyless life concept, but it's not about perfection. It's not the goal. I part of the Chillpreneur philosophy is half-ass things, because half-assing still works. Half-assing, as you guys would say in America. Half-assing, half-assing
No, it sounds better when you
totally
say it.
works.
Okay.
Half-assing. It still works. It still works. Just be consistently half-assed about your life, and things will move forward.
Wow, you're so right. Thank you. I love it.
Thanks, April.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thanks.